The Journey of Meaning, Part 6. When language begins constructing reality. At first sight, the language of psychedelic music appears to represent a complete break from everything that came before. We have already encountered a world populated with tangerine trees, newspaper taxis, and kaleidoscope eyes. The electric prunes sing about having too much to dream last night. Hendrix allows the weather of the purple haze to enter consciousness. Jefferson Airplane transforms Alice in Wonderland into a landscape of drug-induced experience. And this is before we get into Pink Floyd's Gnomes, the Doors' Crystal Ships, and Cream's Shadows that run from themselves in the White Room. It is all wonderfully irrational. But even when it feels like meaning has travelled very far, beyond the Oort cloud, something interesting is happening. Look at the imagery. Trees, dreams, grass, moonlight, houses, ships, telephones and fruit. It is all perfectly ordinary. Nothing about the objects themselves have changed or been distorted, despite the stretch, despite the distance travelled. The only thing that has changed is the way that the metaphor allows us to relate one object to the other. Trees become tangerines, the sky becomes marmalade, a room becomes a state of mind, a taxi perhaps becomes something you can read, and dreams are something you can consume. I always assumed that the song inferred that you can drink them. So, language has not abandoned reality, but just bent the rules a little. Unlike other metaphors, like the road to recovery, it feels like it changes one idea while leaving the rest of the world untouched. Psychedelic metaphors change the world itself. We learn a new set of rules. Things that sound impossible begin to feel strangely natural, even relatable. Think about this for a moment. This is how dreams work. In our dreams, we rarely invent completely new things. Instead, our brains rearrange what we already know and change the rules of the real world. Gravity weakens and suddenly we can fly. We fall from enormous heights, only to wake just before we hit the ground. We have seemingly two-way conversations with relatives who died years ago about topics that are happening to you right now. We try to run from danger, but our legs don't work. We see angels and demons. These are all physically impossible, but while we are dreaming, none of it feels strange. We are living it. The people are familiar. The houses are familiar. The actions, falling, running, talking, flying, are all things that we can understand. What changes is what connects them and the rules governing them. Time, space, gravity, identity, and even death become flexible. Dreams take the world we already know and make it behave differently. Psychedelic language and Lewis Carroll before it achieve exactly the same effect. It is not describing another reality, but creates the dream world we can temporarily step into and experience for ourselves. So, by this point, the role of metaphor has changed once again. Whereas literal language gives us a shared picture of reality, and everyday metaphor recognizes that reality, and literature stretches those ideas further, and extended metaphors create whole emotional worlds. Now, language goes a step further still. It creates worlds with their own internal logic. These are worlds we can understand, even though they don't obey the rules of everyday life. And this is not even the end of the journey, not for meaning. For up until now, meaning has been expanding. Metaphors have grown into poems and poems into stories, and now stories into entire worlds. Then something surprising happens. The journey begins to reverse. Instead of forever expanding, language starts compressing those vast worlds of meaning into simple symbols. A single colour can come to represent desire, death or destiny. A spiral can stand for history itself. A statue can represent moral transformation. An ordinary landscape can become a sacred place filled with layers of meaning. Meaning has travelled outwards for a long time, and now it begins to make its way back home. Thank you for listening. Mark Gibson, Kielder, United Kingdom, August 2026. Copyright asserted by Mark Gibson.